All right, hello. So I had some questions from exercise 1E. It looks like somebody wanted to know 5 and 7. So these are a little bit different, but I'll just do them both in the same video here. So question 5 is kind of a little trick that you should get used to. So what we're trying to do is prove that 1/3 minus 2/9 plus 1/27 minus 2 over 81 plus 1 over 243, etc., is equal to 1/8. And when you first look at this, you might think this is weird because it's not quite a geometric sequence. It's flip-flopping from positive to negative. That's okay. And the bottom is multiplying by 3. That's okay. So the r looks like negative 1/3. But then the top switches from 1 to 2, 1 to 2, 1 to 2. And that's not geometric. And so what you want to do is think of it as two separate geometric sequences. So you can think of it as the positive terms, 1/3 plus 1/27 plus 1 over 243, dot, 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 minus then the negative terms. And so because I'm pulling the negative out, I'm going to write the inside as positive. So it's going to be 2/9, 2 over 81, 81 times 9, so 729, I believe. Okay. And then what we can do is use the sum of an infinite geometric series here. And we're okay to do that so we can justify it because r equals 1/9 for both, and that's less than 1. Then the geometric sum, the sum from n equals 1 to infinity, converges, and we can use our formula for the sum of a geometric series. And so that formula is just 1 over the first term minus r. I'm just double checking. It's a little too early in the morning for me. Let's see. Yeah, the first term over 1 minus r. And so this one is just going to be the first term over 1 minus r minus over here the first term over 1 minus r. So that becomes 1/3 over 8/9, and this one becomes 2/9 over 8/9. And then a little fun with fractions, right? So we multiply by the reciprocal. Like this. Let's switch this to 3/9. So then we have 3/8 minus 2/8. And you get the desired result of 1/8. So that was exercise 5. Now I will do exercise 7. This was on page 40, if you're following along. So exercise 7 is more fun with fractions. 1 over n minus 1 minus 1 over n plus 1 over n plus 1. And we want to prove it equals something. I'm actually just going to pretend I don't know what it equals because you shouldn't really need to know what it equals here. We're just going to find a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply this by n over n. And I can do it all at once, really. So I'm going to also multiply it by n plus 1 over n plus 1. Now that has the required denominator. The middle fraction needs an n minus 1 and an n minus 1, and it needs an n plus 1 and an n plus 1. And this fraction needs an n and an n minus 1. Okay, so the fraction on the left becomes n times n plus 1. The fraction in the middle becomes n minus 1 times n plus 1. And the fraction on the right becomes n times n minus 1. Because you can really think about it needed the other two denominators to make a common denominator. So each of them has the two denominators that the two other denominators become its new numerator. The bottom becomes n over n minus 1 times n plus 1. Okay, then let's multiply everything out on top and just see what happens. N squared plus n squared plus n. And then over here, we have minus n squared plus 1 because I'm carrying this negative through to the result. And then plus n squared minus n. And so after all of that fun stuff, n squared minus n squared plus n minus n all over n times n minus 1 n plus 1, we end up with the result of 1 plus n squared over n times n minus 1 n plus 1. And I'm going to look what the book wanted. Basically the same thing. The book just had these two terms flipped around. That's easy because it's commutative. And it had multiplied out this term to be n squared minus 1. So we'll just write it that way. N squared plus 1 over n times n squared minus 1. Great. Now the question asked us to use the result to figure out 1/5 minus 1/6 plus 1/7. The middle term was called n, so I know n equals 6. And using my result, I can say that 6 squared plus 1 over 6 times 6 squared minus 1. So I guess it's 37 over 6 times 35. I personally don't really care what 6 times 35 is. I guess 180 plus another 30, so 210, I think. So 37 over 210, and that's that. All right, please comment if there's anything I did wrong or that you need extra help on. Thanks for watching.